good morning. And I hope you also do the same. It's not breaking news that it's cold because we're in the cold season. Anyway, there's a lot of things that have been happening in this beautiful country. We hope that it's going to rain pretty soon so that the cost of living can go down because of production. And so we pray that we are going to see some rain. Anyway, we have some of the things that we'll be talking about. If you looked at the headlines today, if you've had an opportunity to look at them, they say the church is back. And the $1 million question is, back from where? And that's what we're going to be discussing, plus some of the developments that have been coming. We have heads of states who are now showing interest in coming and basically mediating in what the country is going through, trying to bring a truce between the President William Ruto and the opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga. Now with me in the studio, I have Pastor David Wamathu. Karibu.
Thank you very much, Fred.
As I always say, he wears so many different hats. It's all about which hat we are going to pick on. He's an economist, a pastor. He's also doing a lot of business. He's an entrepreneur. And so we'll pick on some of his experiences. We are waiting for Abel Onchari. Abel Onchari, we've basically gotten used to him right now. He appears the way we expect Jesus will come, suddenly. So you will suddenly see him on the screen anytime now. So, Pastor,
yes, just Fred.
David, it's very interesting if you look at some of the things that are being said. Like I started off by saying, today one of the dailies has a headline screaming, the church is back.
Yes.
Back to what? Back from where?
Thank you very much, Fred. I think I'm very happy actually to be in this show all the time.
Thank you.
And that is a very good question. And I think there is a lot of many things. People are saying so many things. But I think the church has been steady for quite some time. Actually, it is only that sometimes people think that the church is not doing a lot. But you can remember even during the time of Uhuru and Ruto.
Yes.
Even the time, the deal day, you remember the president and the deputy president kneeling down.
Yes.
And who is the person who was actually leading them?
Yes.
It is actually the church.
Yes.
It is actually, they really knew that the church has taken a very heavy role. And they say that it is God who has brought us here. Why did they realize it is God who has brought us there? It is because the church also has been in prayers. Sometimes the church may not be seen to be politicking. Our role is not to politic.
Yes.
It is actually to commit this government to the Lord, the leaders to the Lord. And if you look keenly, and that's why I don't really know some of the headlines. I think someone wakes up in the morning and they just want to say something. And why they would say that is because that kind of a headline, it will sell. Because as you are asking, people will want to know, where was the church? How comes it has come back? So is it that it was sitting somewhere? Is it that they were hiding somewhere? What was happening? Because I feel, if you look at the many, even the religious people who have been speaking and even calling for peace and many other things, I think right now, almost every other day, you will find the church speaking.
Yes.
There is a voice. But I think there are some people who want to see church do more than what maybe it is doing. Because
is there a possibility? Because I believe, like Jesus said, we are the church, we are the light of the world.
Correct.
We are also the salt of the earth. Is there a possibility that maybe for some time the light effect and the salt effect on this food called Kenya has not been felt as much?
Maybe that could be the issue, because you remember when we talk about religion and the church,
yes,
we talk about so many denominations. And the worst thing is because there is a time whereby the church had also tried to get into the world, in the circles of the world, in the sense that you know this leader is not good, but
Yes.
because he is going to give you something, you don't care what happens, and you will not even say anything negative about the leader and
Yes.
such kind of a thing. So there is a point whereby I think the church was not so much, in terms of speaking in one voice. And you could find this one is going this direction, this one is going this direction. And I think that could be the issue why they are saying the church is back. Because right now, if you look, they are talking in one voice.
Yes.
You find all of them are calling for truce together.
Yes.
You know, they go and have a meeting, and even they are saying, look, we need you guys to tone down. I think that it's only that the voice is now being louder. I think there is a time it was not that louder, that like the way it is today. And maybe that's why they are saying it is back, because everybody is actually calling the leaders and telling them this is not what we are supposed to be saying. Because by the way, what is happening right now is shameful to the country of Kenya. You are finding that many countries, they respect Kenya in a very big way.
Yes.
And we are the people even mediate in terms of the peace. Look at
because
even
in DRC
Correct.
we have President Uhuru Kenyatta,
Correct.
former President Uhuru Kenyatta leading.
Yes. So I think the church is actually coming out and saying, look, it is not a good thing what is happening right now. So the voice is quite loud. And I think that's why they are saying we are back as the church. But the church has been there, I would say.
One of the things, and maybe is, I know with the Shakaholas, so many funny things happening within people who claim to be part of the church. They've been so loud to a point whereby they are heard more. You know how empty debes make more noise than debes that have content.
Correct.
So they've been so loud to a point whereby the country or the people have literally believed that the empty debes are the church. So that when they look at the church, most of the time when people are talking about the church, they have a negative connotation, because the loudest debes are the ones that are empty.
Correct.
And they're the ones that are misbehaving.
Yes. Correct. I think that is one thing that we need to differentiate.
Yes.
Actually, the church, because there is actually a very thin line between the church and the cult. Yes. You can get to being cultic very easy.
Yes.
Actually, because you see what happens is that everybody is looking for hope.
Yes.
And there is someone who speaks to you. When they tell you, like now you see the people, if you are not really grounded in the word of God, sometimes it is very easy for people to mislead you. And what we have realized is that, because we have mentioned about Shakahora issue, you remember even the pastor himself, he started with God. But after some time, he said, I am not actually a pastor. And he denounced himself long time ago, I think 2019.
Yeah, I remember.
He said, I am not a pastor any longer. What I had been called to do, I accomplished. I finished it.
Yes.
And you see, people still don't want to believe that this is not a man of God. It is not a church. And because even himself is saying it is not a church. I am not actually a pastor any longer. But you see what happens is because there is a connotation. Because this man, what he was talking about is that you are going to die and see Jesus. So you see, because he is talking about the name of Jesus, people will always see and say, this is a church. But the Bible is very clear. Not everyone who calls my name. And you see, that is whereby us and the world, we may not understand one another because they speak a different language, and also we speak a different language. Because you see, let me say, and even the time, you remember the time they were talking about regulating the church.
Yes.
And it was a debate. But right now you can hear the voice is going down. Because people are also wondering, what is it that we are going to regulate? What do we understand about this church? You find that many people don't even understand the church. And that's why you are finding they will light everything about the church. But I can tell you, the church of Jesus Christ, has been strong, and it is strong, and it is actually doing what it's supposed to do. And that's why you find when we say this is not right, it doesn't matter whether it's coming from the president, it doesn't matter whether it is coming from the opposition. We are saying we need genuine peace in this country.
Yes.
Not just something that is looking like peace, but we know that we can come together, and this is
have true peace.
True peace.
Yeah.
And that is the peace that you'll fight. Every other time we'll not be fighting against one another. The fact that I don't belong to the party that you belong, it is not a reason for me to fight you. The fact that we are not believing in the same political, political things, it is not a reason for you just now to be against me. The issue is, let's understand that we are one. And the one
that might, it will take a lot of mindset change in this country. Onchari, Karibu. It will take a lot of mindset change in this country for us to come and start thinking as one people. But unfortunately, we only think that we are not one people during the election and shortly after the election when we have this kind of thing.
Well, I think we've come a long way. Yeah, the kind of distance we've covered, when you go back to 1992, 1997, 2002 was an exception. Of course, 2007, 2008 was, I think, the darkest point.
Yeah.
And then, of course, 2013 a little bit. 2017 disastrous, and then of course 2022. So, but we've covered some distance. There's a time when
we've made progress.
We've made progress. In fact, tremendous progress. And it's not good progress because when you look at our neighbors, when you go to
I thought when I said we've made progress, it's positive progress.
I know. Yeah, it's not the kind of progress you'd want to see. If you've taken time and studied the kind of the kind of electioneering spirit we have in Tanzania, you'll not be able to see the issue of tribes coming up. And Tanzania has more tribes than we do. It's around 120. If you go to Uganda, they have all sorts of people. You cannot find the kind of friction we have here during elections that is based on what? Ethnicity. It's quite shameful. But then when you travel back, like I said, through time, up to around 1992, it was a bit hot. Over time, I think because of experiences from the global space, the education we have for ourselves that has, I think, helped to change mindsets. Covered some distance. We are at a point where you can find a good number of Kenyans united, regardless of tribe, to condemn some actions within our political sphere. As we speak now, you can find guys from Mount Kenya working with guys from Nyanza and others from Eastern, to condemn what. Now, the problem is this kind of unity is not solidified on principle. It's led by what we call political kingship. So someone like Musyoka now brings the Eastern Bloc. Maybe someone like Wairia brings the Mount Kenya Bloc. Raila, of course, brings his Nyanza block, and then now they're united. So in the absence of the tribal kingpins, you can't tell what can happen. Yeah. So I have a couple of areas to blame. Number one is our education system.
Our what?
Education system. A good education system cleans the nonsense we have in our heads that tells you that your tribe is maybe superior to others. But
if you look at majority, of quite a good number of people who have that kind of thinking.
Yes.
These are educated people.
Thank you. And that is why I'm saying our education system has a problem. Proper education cleans that kind of nonsense from your head, and civilizes you. It makes you see yourself in others. It's called empathy. If I'm a Kisii, for example, from Kisii County, I should be able to know that my suffering, my problems, my tribulations are not any different from those ones of Onyango from Kisumu. So when I'm complaining about, for example, high food prices, that is the same problem most likely someone from the coast is also going through.
Sure.
So we are united in suffering. We're united as a people. When our forefathers fought for independence, they were doing it for everybody. So we have to always work together, not as tribes. And
hasn't because now as before you came in, we're talking about how the headlines are saying the church is back.
Yes.
Hasn't the church been able to tame this?
No, it's not. It's not because, you know, let me tell you, our challenge as a people, we don't have philosophies which ground us on anything. And as they always say,
Yes.
a people without a philosophy will not always have a proper culture. And lack of a proper culture will leave you like twigs in the wind. You swing in the direction that the wind takes you to. That is the problem we have. If you take your time and go through societies and communities that are making progress, you go to the East, you go to the US, you go to the UK, you'll find they pay homage to serious philosophies, okay? For example, you know, Americans look up to people like Abraham Lincoln, the likes of Thomas Jefferson, people who, sorry.
That's somebody who's seen you on telly and is deciding. By the way, he's on air, don't call him.
Thank you.
It's a very interesting habit. Somebody sees you on telly and decides,
And just
hey,
make a
let me
phone
call him and tell him I can see him on
Correct.
TV.
Yeah, like this one I texted and said they agree with the idea the church has let us down.
You see what I'm saying? When he's on TV, he's actually seen your message, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Don't text again.
So, you know, these guys came up with, these are men and women who had very, very solid principles.
Yes.
On how to, you know, put together a nation
Yes.
and make advances. These are people who could not be bought, right? So when you have that kind of foundation, generations that come after find something to emulate, something to copy. And then they're burdened, they're actually yoked into the idea of advancing what you've done. And there is the understanding that my child is supposed to be better than me.
Yes.
So generation after generation tries to better what has been left behind. That is what Obama was talking about, a more perfect
Yes.
union.
Yes.
He was campaigning.
Yeah.
It's the idea of trying to make the United States a better nation than they found it. Now, we don't have that. When you look back, and with all due respect to the ideas I'm going to share mine, so I don't want the station to be burdened or to be sued.
Make sure you're not saying things that are libel.
Yeah, this country was set on the wrong path after independence. We began the culture of theft, the culture of corruption.
Immediately after independence.
You know, as soon as the colonialists took off, the home guards who took over stole land. They left most of our people who were landless, okay? So that culture has continued. We don't have what to look up to backwards that can actually give us what? A sense of where we're headed. We're groping in the dark, right? If you go to cross over to Tanzania, you'll find a gentleman who decided to actually not look for anything for himself and came up with Ujamaa. He advised Tanzanians to learn to see themselves in their what? Neighbors. Tanzania, I've been there a couple of times. It's a place where you can leave your phone somewhere, come back and find it untouched, right? We don't have the kind of culture here. So we have a long way to go because our leaders number one encourage corruption, either directly, tribalism, either directly or indirectly, because they benefit from it. So until we have people who can rise up to the occasion and point us in the right direction, it's going to take a long time to.
But we had people like the Okulus of this world. We have Joya. We had religious leaders who stood, and when they spoke, the nation shook. And we are talking about during the regime of President Daniel Arap Moi, who, in terms of presence, he was a president who you felt as a president. I mean, it comes to a place and you know the president was here.
Yeah. No, you see, what you are saying is correct. And I get what he is talking about. The thing is, if you look at Joya,
yes,
you can remember the beatings that he got from that government. But actually, he was consistent in what he was doing. The challenge that we have, and I get to agree with him, is lack of goodwill.
Lack of goodwill.
Yes, lack of goodwill. Leaders, they don't want to upset the status quo. Why is it that they don't want to upset the status quo? It's because they make their billions out of these corrupt deals. when you come and you are trying to bring some points in a very strong way, you are going to find yourself on the other side of the government.
Yes.
And that's what we are saying. Right now, what we are finding is that, as you are saying, there are some men who really wanted to sacrifice their life, and they did it. You remember even Wangari Maathai.
Yes.
Wangari Maathai is the one, during the same era,
Yeah.
you remember Karura Forest.
Yes.
It was almost going.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a verge of going. It was gone.
Yes.
And right now, today, the young people are going to Karura Forest. It is a good place for them to relax. So you see, Wangari Maathai had a vision, but the leadership did not care about that. And this is where we have a problem in this country, that we don't see the bigger picture of our country. What we see is how much money can I make out of this thing. And that's why we are saying right now, you have asked a question about the church, whether it is not doing much. Can I tell you?
Yes.
Nobody is really ready to listen to the voice of the church.
Nobody is willing to listen.
No, because you see, we said the other time, last time we said, politicians, their entrepreneur, their business is politics. And what they are doing,
They're just doing their
Yes,
job.
they are doing their job
Yes.
through the corrupt deals. They are doing their job. There are quite a number of politicians who actually, they get even into the position. And that's the foundation he is talking about. They get into politics and they know that I have spent 100 million and within 5 years, this 100 million must come back. There is a time I was actually working in an organization. I won't mention names, but I want to show you how bad it is. And how the political leaders have actually ignored even the voice of the church. The church is speaking,
Yes.
but many of them are ignoring. We did a transaction. That was in 2014. That 2014, that transaction has been paid, and not fully. It has actually been paid in 2019.
And you did the transaction in
2014. But in the process of it being paid, I am telling you, the amount of money that we lost is so huge, because you are going, people are coming and telling you, before we pay you this amount,
Pay
we
us.
want this amount of money. And you know, someone is actually, you are even telling someone, look, you are the one who asked for a competitive tender.
Yes.
So given that it is a competitive tender, you cannot make huge margins.
Yes.
But these guys, they are looking at the figure. The figure was around 214 million. So they are looking at the figure and saying 214 million is a big deal.
Yes.
But out of that 214 million, the only amount you could make was less than 10% as a margin.
Yes.
So that is around 20 million. But you know, these guys, one guy is asking for 30 million for you to be paid.
For 30 million.
Yes, for you to be paid. He says, put my 30 million here. As a company, we sat down and alleged, and we said, look here,
Yeah.
let's see how much money we can be able to give out. Because we need this money
Yes.
to make sure that we continue with our businesses, because we delivered the goods and every other thing.
And you have people who are waiting to be paid.
Yes, to be paid, even the suppliers, they
Yes.
are waiting to be paid. So we say, okay, how much money can we be able to give out of this deal? And we calculated, and we said, well, we can part with the 6 million, and we just give it to the organization, to the people who are there at the head.
The gatekeepers.
Yes, so actually our MD said, okay, let's give the 6 million. Do you know, we went with the calculations, and we actually, this is the profit, this is the cost and everything. Do you know, the man who was at the helm, who was to make the final call, he was presented with 6 million, and he threw the paper down. We were collecting it down there. Yes, we were collecting it down there. He said it is either 30 million
Or you don't get paid.
or you are not. And it was a serious thing. I'm telling you, until the regime changed, we were not paid. And this is what we are saying. These guys, and the issue he is talking about, the corruption is real in this country. And that's why you are finding that we are not moving forward, because people are looking at their own stomachs. not really looking at what is it that I can do for this country. They are looking at what is it that the country can do for me. They are really not interested in the country moving forward. Whether in the 5 years you move forward, it is not their business. What they are saying is, by these 5 years,
I have
my 100 million must come, and not only that 100 million, but I must also make another 200 million.
The guy just threw the 6 million.
We were collecting it from down there. That is the extent of the lot that is in this country. Yes.
It is so unbelievably immoral.
This is what is happening, and that's why we are saying, when now even you are trying to change the structure,
Yes.
it is the people there at the top who are benefiting from this whole thing. So how easy is it going for you to change that structure? It is a fight. Men and women must be ready to be like martyrs. You are actually beaten and many other things. But I can
so
say,
that the next generation can benefit.
yes, that lack of will, people know what is right, but they don't want
They
it.
don't want.
They
Light
don't
has
want
come
it.
into the darkness, but people love the darkness.
Correct.
We have a situation now. We are seeing now out of all this thing, we are seeing presidents who are now offering to come and mediate in our situation. I wish I could say this has never happened before. It's the first time, but I think I've lived through a number of them that I expected this was going to happen.
The mediation.
Yes.
Well,
And the situation where we are in right now.
well, if you ask me, when you talk about the issue of anarchy, chaos, political instability, negative peace, some people will say there's no peace in Kenya. Some will say there's peace, but it's negative in the sense that there's an element of quietude, but then people are not satisfied, given what may have happened or may not have happened at some point. So the issue is this. Number one, three things. Number one, there's nothing to be mediated. That is the first one.
There's nothing to
There's
be
nothing to be mediated. And I'll explain. Number two, the president so volunteering to come and mediate, I'll call them idlers. Okay? Number three.
That is a very strong terminology.
Yes. Yeah. Number three, I want to actually advise the president who was elected
Yes.
to focus on what matters. So let's go back to the first one. We had an election. Election was conducted. The people who were running the elections, that is the government of the day, pushed it upon our faces that whether this guy wins or not, will not give it to him. It's shocking that the guy actually won and it was given. So they need to just give us a break, okay? Whether we're in Azimio or Kenya Kwanza, we don't care. The election is gone. Number two, I'm calling these guys idlers, the guys who are volunteering to come and mediate, because obviously, because obviously there's nothing to mediate. Okay, elections were conducted, observers were sent from all over the world. They came, observed the elections, and gave it a clean bill of health. They left saying Kenya has conducted one of the best elections over the last 20-25 years. They were satisfied and they left. From whether it's a delegation from the European Union, the US, the African Union, of course, was represented, and they were satisfied. They made reports. Those reports are available. Some of them remained behind and were part of the court process. Of course, after the former Prime Minister was dissatisfied, he took his case to court as it is required. And the Supreme Court rendered itself on the issue, on the matter, which, of course, they've decided to rubbish. Me and you and so many other Kenyans know that the reason as far as Azimio is making noise is not the cost of living. It's basically politics. Because if Raila is concerned about the price of unga, honestly, he knows when he was in government with Uhuru, the price of unga shot up to around 260. As we speak now, it's very difficult to find 2 kgs packet of unga going at 260. Most of them are below 240, 220, 202, 219. Sometimes you can be lucky and find one at 157 shillings. So he knows it has gone down compared to what they were giving us. He also knows that when this country needed money to be saved, they wasted money on something very stupid called the BBI, right? They wasted money through theft in KEMSA. That time Ruto was not in government. Kenyans are not stupid. We document things. We see things happen. This is our home. So when you do things here then you jump over, you're speaking from that side of your mouth, and you think we are sleeping. No, we are not. We can watch, we can see, right? So these idlers, whether it's the president of Tanzania or whoever, should stick to their places and do their work. The third thing is the president should be actually called out on some issues. He needs to be very, very busy keeping his cabinet on toes. They need to do real work and make the lives of Kenyans easier. Okay? Because it's true, there's a problem of
high cost of living.
Yes,
it's a
it
reality.
Can be felt. It's not begun today. That is a fact I'd like us to always remind ourselves. It's not begun today. It dates back to 2021, not even 2022. It goes back to 2021. That is where the rain began reaching us. There was a lot of corruption. There was a lot of theft during the COVID time, from 2019 to around 2021. That's why the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, basically led a spree of borrowing and stealing. That is what was happening. Money was being borrowed from everywhere. The World Bank, International Monetary Fund, all these countries. Once it could land here, it goes missing, right? If you call him here now, umuketishi hapa, and then you get Raila, and you ask them the whole idea of BBI and the way it was funded, what was it meant to achieve? They'll not tell you, because they were prevailed upon, they were requested, they were begged to actually expand it. That is the time I expected the retired president to be a statesman.
Yes.
What he could have done was to summon Musalia, Musyoka, Raila, Ruto, and all these other guys. I want to be, hey, you guys sit here. I want to leave behind a united country, and I want us to have this structure here. When the election is conducted in 2022, I want to be there and I will not take sides. He should have been able to rise above the fray, become a statesman, level the playground for all these guys, and then watch them battle it out.
So if there's nothing to mediate over, and we shouldn't be having these presidents coming over and trying to mediate.
Yes.
But we have a problem.
What's the problem?
We have a problem.
What is it?
We have people going to the streets and making it impossible for...
That is because the former prime minister has not been reminded time and time again that he's part of the problems he's complaining about. When he talks about the cost of living, I don't think this government has reminded him enough that is the reason as to why Kenya is suffering. Yeye na nani? The retired president. A spade is a spade and a spoon is a spoon. They're not the same. Okay? When Raila was in government, he actually stood for the housing levy. He praised it. Now, for some reason, he does not like it. When Raila was in government with Uhuru, borrowing was okay. Now, for some reason, he finds it objectionable. When Raila was in government with Uhuru, the high cost of living was normal because it was all over the world. For some reason, now it's not. He condemns it and calls people to go to the streets. People are not telling him the truth. And we have vulnerable Kenyans who listen to him and then, tag along. In the process, you have all this nonsense of people dying on the streets.
So
absolutely no reason.
Should in a situation like this, when we've had the riots and everything, and people have died in the streets, so do we just take a stand and say it doesn't matter how many people are going to die in the streets, but we have to keep on this route? Fred,
it is very shameful for us to lose even one life. And even the people who are actually moving and making innocent people to lose their life, I don't know whether they have anything in their heart that really tells them that what you are doing is wrong. If they have something that can speak to their heart, they should know what they are doing is very bad.
Yes.
You find someone was actually doing their own businesses. You woke up in the morning, you went to for your businesses, then you are found in the middle of that thing. You are shot, or you are, even throwing stones. Other people, someone throws a stone, and you are there. You are hospitalized and all these kind of things. When you look at that chaos, you ask yourself, these people, they don't care even about the people that they are fighting for, because they are not fighting for the people. If really you are caring, you are fighting for the people, the moment that you fight that these people are actually getting killed, you should actually think about what you are doing. But let me say one thing.
Yes.
In terms of this mediation, I would say mediation, it is allowed. But you must get to know what is it that you are mediating about.
I've seen some conditions that were given to the president. Among them, I think Azimio want at least 3 individuals into the IEBC.
Yes, they have put it like that.
Yes.
But the question is, when you are meditating, there are some few things you can't meditate on. Mediate on. The socio-economic. It is actually production which would address that issue. Even if we keep on coming here to the table and we still keep on talking about the cost of living, which options do we have right now in the country? Because people are just talking things. Put even the opposition today for 1 month and you tell them for 1 month deal with the socio-economics. I can tell you they will be confused. Because there is nothing much you will be able to do in terms of now bringing the cost of living down.
Yes.
It is not how many times we sit on the table. It is how much we help one another to get out of this hole. Because what is happening, and I hear these statements every other day, the opposition saying that you said when you put down the Bible, everything is going to change. They must have been very foolish. You know, and that's why we are saying, and that's why he started by saying, I think the education that we have is not right education, because even the people who are educated, they are not reasoning. You know, education needs to help you to reason and to make quite good decisions. But when someone says, and they go on air and say, no, you said the price of Uga is going to come down. Why is it that the other regime did not say the same thing within a switching of a button on and off?
Yes.
And they brought the cost of living down. Many things that we are doing at the end of the day, they need people to come together with the ideas we face. And that's why we say the other time, 3 A's. We say the first thing is people must accept where we are. We must accept that life is going to be a bit difficult for some time before we start seeing.
Because we're in a messed up
Correct.
situation.
And it did
it
not
did take one day to get us here.
I am telling you, it is accumulation for quite many years. And therefore, for us to expect a government will come, and you started even bringing issue to the government from day one. You started now threatening the government from day one. And you expect, in fact, I would say, and I'm not speaking for Kenya Kwanza, I would say whatever they have done right now, they have done it out of a lot of pressure. Therefore, they are actually doing well. You know, in one way or another, they can do better. But I can say with the resistance that is there in this country, they are trying. And that's why we are saying, let's differentiate the things that need to be mediated on. Because some of the things that we are saying that they need to be mediated on, they are actually off the cuff.
In your opinion, what do you think should be mediated over?
One, if for example, and that's why we say the structures.
Yes.
Let's look at IEBC. Is there an issue in IEBC right now? Maybe that is an issue that they can sit down and look at it and say, is there anything we can sit and actually agree on how the IEBC is going to be formed? And what are the issues? What have we learned from the other areas? Which, if they realize, you know, they may come on the table and say, well, I think the IEBC is okay. The problem is the people who are there at the top.
Yes.
Because every time what happens is that when it is on your side, when the IEBC is actually saying it is Fred who is winning,
it is very good.
It is very good. When they say, well, Matthew is losing, IEBC is bad. So maybe they need to come and sit down and look. And now when you come to bargaining and negotiating every other thing, you know, they always say that you must come with clean hearts.
Yes.
And that is the problem we have. People are not coming with clean hearts. You see, like the bipartisan.
Yes.
Why is it that it came to a stop? It is because one thing, people are not clean. Because one of the things, you wake up in the morning, you write a letter. And you say, sign this letter. I have signed on my side. How can you just tell people you've not even agreed?
Yes.
You have not sat down and agreed on what is it that we want to do. But you tell people, sign here. What is it that you are signing? Open the server. This language of opening the server, the first thing I can tell you, it is a reason for people to keep on doing demonstration. There is nothing as opening the server. For 4 days, and I am speaking this because you see, the guy who was actually the IT expert for Azimio. This guy is my personal friend.
Who, George?
Yes.
Yes.
Joroge.
Yes.
He is a guy actually, I call him like this. He is my personal friend. We even go for many things together.
Yes.
We were with him in the college. So it is actually something that even him, he confirms that they went and the servers were open for some time. What is it that we are going to come and negotiate about opening the servers? Because at the end of the day, Joroge even kept quiet because he realized at the end of the day what these guys are saying is not the true thing because the servers were open. And I remember people going and even spending hours and hours interrogating the server. So what they are telling us to do is actually something which is not adding value.
So in terms of, because evidently there's going to be talks, there's going to be mediation, there's going to be, people are going to put different things on the table. What would you consider legit? This is worth talking about.
If I can jump in. I agree with him. The whole idea of the server is nonsensical. It's neither here nor there. And I'm glad he's pointed out the participation of Nzoroge, the IT expert for Azimio. You know, that was it was part of the court process. So Kenyans who followed the Supreme Court case keenly are very much aware that portions of the server that needed to be opened to answer questions that were raised by Azimio was actually done. Now, the only thing that is a game that is legit for discussion during mediation, and that does not even need people to come from outside. The only thing Raila and the Ruto need to sit down and talk about is the cost of living. Just that. That is the only thing which touches on the lives of Kenyans. The idea of creating pressure and then getting accommodation in the government is bad manners. It's been happening, and as Raila gets old, if his last wish, I'm assuming the last time he's doing this, is granted, people like me will get into politics at some point via lose, then build a lot of pressure and demand accommodation in government. Okay? We will not learn to develop the culture of losing with grace. Okay? So it's an idea of it's either I lose and accept, I lose and I put pressure and I'm accommodating. In fact, very soon you'll begin seeing losers in other positions like governor, senate, beginning to
doing the same thing.
Yes. The election was not clean, so you become a senator, but I'll also be part of your leadership. You know, that is the culture we're developing here. So that has to be cut off once and for all. They can sit down, and then the president tells us, me or you guys, this is our country. We're going to be living here for the longest time, right?
Yes.
And we need it to work for us, our kids and our kids' kids. If you have ideas you think can be included in our administration, we'll do what? Buy them, so long as they don't disrupt our vision. Elections have consequences. When you go to face the electorate, you basically take a platform, raft of ideas, right? And then the opposition, the other side also presents itself, its platform. So voters choose a particular platform. So elections have consequences. Once a particular side has been elected, it's their vision which gets implemented. When you lose elections and you begin arguing against those who've won, you're basically rubbishing the choice of the people. That's what you're doing. You're undermining the ability to decide.
So the first thing is, it's legit cost of living.
Yes, and then it's
inclusion to the government should not be part of it.
Shouldn't be part of it at all whatsoever. And
what about some of the things that are already being thrown out there by individuals from, because there's a lot of pull and push between individuals within each party.
Yes.
There's a school of thought that says, what the president had initially said, set up an official office for the opposition.
That is okay.
Yes.
That is okay.
Should we have a shadow cabinet that is paid from the exchequer?
No. Payment, no. But it should exist.
Because there's also that is being thrown.
No. That is now, we're expanding the wage bill.
Yes.
Okay? And
Yes.
that's going to create a serious burden
Yes.
on our suffering people. So that beats the whole idea of even discussing the cost of living if you're creating positions where people will be paid money from our pockets again. That doesn't make sense at all. But a shadow cabinet exists everywhere for purposes of presenting competing ideas.
And they're not paid from the exchequer.
No,
Yeah,
they're not.
you see,
They're not.
you see, Fred,
Yeah.
Yes.
let me ask one question. We have the cabinet,
Yes.
we have the member of parliament right now, and when we talk about Kenya, we are speaking about like the member of parliament is Azimio, is Kenya Kwanza. What we are saying is when we form that office, they are able to select their people. Who are these people who are going to be in this cabinet? One, why Kenyans, there is the political fund
Yes.
that is paid to the parties.
Yes.
Like now every day, every day you hear like ODM is getting this portion of money. Where do they take that money? They can be able to finance some of these things. I'm saying, you see like the member of parliament right now for Azimio.
Yes.
Do you know there is the subscription fee? There is actually a monthly fee
Yes.
they pay.
True.
If these guys really want to do what they are saying, they can be able, that office can be formed, and they can manage their affairs without even putting the government into all these issues. And I can tell you right now, even as we speak, the Prime Minister former, if it is security, who pays for his security?
It's a taxpayer.
If it is the cars,
Yes,
he is
exactly.
driving, and even they are being hit with the stones.
Yes.
Whose vehicles are those? It is not his Range Rover.
Yes.
It is actually the government monies. Even Kalonzo, he is actually enjoying the same kind of a pack. So what we are saying, these guys, what is it that they want that is too much for them to do, to work for the country, for Kenya? And I am saying some of the things, and I will say 100%. We have systems in this country. And the other time we said, what Okia Omtata is doing is actually what we should be fighting. Because we must have faith with our institutions.
Meaning fighting the ills within the society through the judiciary.
Yeah, because right now, can I tell you right now, see today is actually the pronouncement. Actually, there is going to be a pronouncement.
Yes.
I can tell you that Kenya Kwanza may be taken back to the drawing board. Because there are some few areas where there was a participation, but I think they did not include the ideas of the people, so there is a bit of push and pull.
Yes.
But what we are saying is, for quite some time, Kenya Kwanza has not been able to implement the finance bill. Why? It is because one great man of Kenya, he went to the court and he said this finance bill has some few issues. Nobody is throwing stone to anyone. It is actually the judicial system. Yes, the legal system to take effect. There are quite a number, the CASs, the 50. Someone say he went to the court and he said, these people, why did you change from 23 to 50?
Yeah.
And it was said this whole thing is not constitutional. What we are saying is that there are several things we can be able to work them out, even through our judicial and any other system. These issues are waking up and coming and throwing stones. And that's why I think the Kenya Kwanza, they are trying to say, you see like what is in the constitution about picketing and all these kind of things.
Yes.
We need to go a little bit further in terms of explaining how do you do it. And that's why they are trying to push it. For you to be responsible and accountable. If, for example, you get like the way the Quick Marts, or was it the Quick Mart in the supermarket in Kitegera?
Yes.
You get there and people come and loot every other thing. Who is responsible for that loss? Because you see,
You should be the one who called for it, right?
correct. that is where we are saying people need to be more accountable and responsible. Because today they come, they destroy every other thing, and what we are doing in this country is actually backwardness. And I would really urge even the Azimio leader, they see the big picture of this country. You cannot be allowing young people to go expressway. They do that kind of a harm and you are comfortable. They keep on saying it is the police who are there. Did you see the police at the express highway when they are pulling down all these kind of things?
Yes.
You know, there are some few things we are doing in this country, and one, let me say this, and I think it is also something which is difficult, and I'm saying, you know, our president and you and me, to God, we are equal. He may have all the monies that he have in this country, or even the monies touched even in other countries.
But we are all equal.
But we are all equal. We are creations of God. And therefore, this issue that you must do everything, even you don't even wonder, you don't even consider, ulikanyage, ulifanyie nini, you don't even
You have
think.
to have your way.
This is actually a backward attitude and mentality. And I think the leaders really need to come to a point. If they are going to be leaders, let me say political leaders,
Yes.
because I don't see leadership in all the time.
Kenya's problem, as we close, because I can see time is done, in a brief, the leadership problem in Kenya is within the political circles, right?
No, it's not. The Kenyan leadership problem is fundamental, and it dates back to independence, like I said, the foundation of the nation. That is why the rain began beating us. We've not developed a culture of authentic leadership. And by the way, leadership does not have to come from class.
Yes.
We have men and women who have not gone to school, but they've distinguished themselves in the field of leadership, not just within Kenya, but beyond. It goes back. We have a culture of being shallow. We have a culture of not being authentic. We have a culture of not being straightforward. And that is what we pass on to our kids. If you go to parliament today, you get all these cartoons who are elected as members of parliament. They're into wash. They're not properly schooled. They have papers which were made in River Road, and they've bribed, and those papers have been included in the institutions where they claim to have gone. So those papers can be tracked to those schools. You'll think these are legitimately educated individuals. So if that cartoon becomes a president at some point, you can expect
It's just going to be a multiplier effect.
That is the problem we have. And that lack of leadership permeates everywhere. It's in the church, it's in business, it's all over. Okay, we cut corners. Okay, and sometimes we expect our leaders, who basically a mirror of who we are, to be different. Okay, so I go to school. My kid has not, for example, qualified to be in a particular class or a particular level. I feel like, no, that's not right. I take some small amount of money, give it to the headmaster. The kid is moved forward or something like that.
Yes.
It happens. We do it all the time.
True.
I'm doing it as a private citizen, but then I expect my president or my
Not
MP
to do it.
not to do it.
Yes.
It does not work like that. So it dates back to independence. And if we don't go back to basics, we'll keep on suffering. That is the problem.
All right.
And the church, if I can comment,
Yes.
just like in academia, you'd expect our professors to be united in pushing forward philosophies, ideas, and that advance the nation. But then they're divided. You find a professor, for example, from Luo Nyanza, putting his education aside and pursuing a very tribal line of thinking. You'll find a priest, or a pastor from some part of the country, pursuing a very tribal agenda. So we are not united by what unites other people elsewhere. Okay, we still claim.
Or what is supposed to unite us. Yes.
Whether it's the church, political leadership, business leadership, we have this problem. Okay, so we have an education problem. We've not allowed our education to actually clean that kind of primitivity from our heads. And until that happens, we'll continue suffering.
Okay.
Yes.
Your closing comment.
Well, I think our problem in this country stems back from our families in terms of what values, what morals do we start for. Right now, the problem we have is that the upbringing we have gotten because we are expecting too much even from the outside world. But let me tell you, the child, the way you bring them, the chances is that if you bring them in a moral, in a godly, in a good way, it is likely that they might be able to change.
Yes.
What we are finding is that children have actually seen bad manners from our political leaders. And because, as you are saying, they are like the mirror,
Yes.
what they see comes back into their heart. Like they know right now, our children know, if you don't toe my way, what is the next thing? I will take a stone and I will force you to do what I want you to do. And it is actually a very big challenge, because you see, all of us, we start from somewhere. Like now, Fred, for me, I am Wamathu.
Yes.
Wamathu is actually a name that is my brother. If you go and find my brother, he will call himself Wamathu. And my sisters, they will actually have that Wamathu in them. If you want to see, you will find that Wamathu, because of the way we have believed, the values, the morals, the beliefs, and the culture that we have. If it is a good one, you will find that Wamathu family is going to be strong. Even if you try to do some funny things, you will not be able to get them. And if you go now to another family, you realize that they are bringing for that family is whereby stealing,
Anything goes.
stealing was actually okay. In fact, the lady,
It met.
Yes.
It brought food on the family table.
yes, it is okay. So what I would say, even as we deal with the political, the leadership outward here, let's also deal with our families. Let's bring values, let's bring the right cultures and the right beliefs in our family. I believe if we have strong families, some of these things we will be able to stand against them.
All right. Well, it comes back to values. What do we believe in? Because I remember in the book of James, James asks, show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. Meaning the things that we do actually show what we believe. So if you look at the country called Kenya, and you look at the things Kenya corporate does, then you get to see what Kenya corporate actually believes. Not what it says, what it does. So that's one of the things that we need to do. You're a leader. Everywhere you go, you're a leader. Every person is a leader. You lead your own life. So you're a leader in your own respective way. So let's do the leadership thing. Let's do the right thing. And you know what's going to happen? When all of us do the right thing, then the entire nation will look different. Won't have this kind of things happening. So do have yourself a lovely day. Remember, later on in the show, we have the Daughters of the King coming in. We'll be discussing some of the things that are affecting the family unit, but this particular case, one part of the family unit, which is the ladies. And you know, when you get it right with the ladies, you get it right with everything. So make sure that you don't miss that. Do have yourself a lovely day.
Thank you.
That was good.
Thank you.